to the channel. For those of you who are new to the channel, a big welcome. It's so great to have you with us. Today's video, I am going to run you through a quick tutorial on how to color crystals, and you can use the same tutorial in Hannah Carlson's books or any other books that you have with those crystal-like shapes to them. You can also use the same principles with a variety of other colors or totally different color schemes. So I'm just going to show you the ideas behind coloring crystals, and then you can interpret them any way you like. The basics really are, again, you having your highlight, your mid-tone, and your shadowed areas. And those just need to be layered certain ways to make crystals look really spectacular. And you're also going to need either a white Uniball Signo pen, a white Sakura Jelly Roll, a white Posca pen, or any other preferred white pen, so that we can add accents and highlights towards the end of the video. I'm not going to do all the crystals with you. I'm just going to do about 3 or so just to give you the idea. So I'm coloring in Mythographic Paradise with illustrations by Fabiana Atanasio. And the main reason I'm doing this and not a Hannah Carlson book is because I have started this page here, and I've got my whole color scheme going on for me and my plans. So I'm just going to show you how I would color some of these crystals in. Now, because my color scheme is going to be blues, pinks and teals with a bit of yellow, I'm going to be bringing in some of those colors into my crystals. So I've got, I'm using Prismacolor pencils because I really fancy coloring with them at the moment. So I've got Peacock Green for some of my darker shades. I've got Aquamarine for my mid-tone. For some of my lighter tones, I've got PC920. And then because I'm having a pink background, I will need a bit of pink, PC929. And then I will bring in either some cold gray, 90% cold gray, or some very dark blues for deepening up my shadows, but we will see how we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom you into this section here by the horse's, the unicorn's face, because I've got quite a few crystals, and then I will get you started. Now, the other thing I want to highly recommend to you is the Colorist Special Effects by Helen Elliston. All right, so if I zoom you out again, sorry guys. Okay, so this book has got a step-by-step guide for you on creating beautiful crystals. So she goes through each step, encourages you to use different color schemes, but you've got the step-by-step here. So I'm having this open next to me as a reference point, just because it's been a while since I've done crystals, but I would highly recommend you getting a copy of this book. It is available on Amazon.com, Amazon.co.uk, and if nothing else, it's a great way of learning how to color different things. So just really highly recommend it. All right, so let me zoom you back in again, and we will start coloring. So again, we need to think about the direction of our light source. So I've kind of having the light source is coming sort of from the right hand side. But I'm also going to follow some of these illustrations, because you can see here there's a lot of lines indicating where shadowed areas should be and where the highlights should be. So we're going to follow the artist's illustration as well. So I'm going to use PC905. And basically what you got to decide with a crystal is which side is going to be your darker side, which one's going to be a lighter side, because a crystal will have one section, usually it's the middle or the side facing the light source. So over here, this is going to be much lighter than this section here because it's closer to my light source. So you want to bear that in mind when you are coloring. And you're also going to alternate areas where you have darks and lights. So if we come here with the Aquamarine, all right, so here I've got a crystal on top of another crystal. So this is going to be relatively dark. And here where it's coming underneath another crystal, it's also going to be relatively dark. So I'm going to use a light pressure as I just lay down where my shadowed areas are and all of that. Now, here is a crystal sitting on top, so this here has to be in complete shadow. This here is in complete shadow because of the way the illustrator has drawn it, so we're going to bring that up. Here is going to be a bit dark because this crystal is actually sitting on there. All right, now this section is an imperfection in the crystal, and here is getting a lot more sunlight, but because I've got dark here, I want to alternate it, so I'm going to put a bit, very slight coloring over there. Then what I'm going to do is this is going to be very, very light, so I'm going to use a much lighter shade, and I'm going to use PC920. And this I'm going to block out completely here. All right. Okay. All right, now we've got an imaginary line coming through here. So this section is also going to be quite dark, but I'm going to use a slightly darker pen. So I'm going to use PC907. And I'm just going to bring this up. All right, and I'm going to add a bit of pink in here. Because I do want my crystal to reflect a little bit of my background. Okay, so now I'm going to bring in some Copenhagen blue, which is the blue I've been using on my unicorn's hair. And I'm just going to work on deepening up my shadowed areas. Part is actually very much in the shadows, so it needs to be really dark because it's getting more shadow than anywhere else. So we go layer over that and we get some of our 90% cool gray, and we're just going to deepen up this shadowed area. All right, and then we come back to that Aquamarine PC905. Excuse me. And this is the PC920. The pink, okay, and then I'm going to get my white pencil and I'm going to try and blend this out a bit. Because I don't want it to look too separate. I do want it to kind of blend into each other. So you've got that slight fading and blend. All right, blue Copenhagen. And again, I'm just layering up my colors here. I'm not really doing anything too different. Put a little bit of that blue in here. Then come back to that PC920 just to blend it out. Now we would take our Sakura Jelly Roll or Uniball Signo pen, and here you're going to add in your highlight. And if it's not completely, if it's leaving bits out, bits of black out, it's not an issue. And you can draw little triangles in here. And you don't need to do the white bits on the entire crystal, because you're not going to have these white reflections on all of your crystal, especially in your shadowed areas. Now, if we want to create some imperfections, you would take PC1068, so your 90% French grey, and you can create some imperfections. And then just continue to add, you can add some dots. Okay, so let's move on to a different crystal and we repeat the process. So let's do a few of crystals all at the same time. So PC 905. All right, this is going to be one of your darker faces. All right, and it's going to be dark here. This will catch some light, so here you'll put a bit there. This is going to catch quite a bit more of the light, except here where it's dark here. Okay, so this section here is actually going to be quite light, so we're not going to do too much there, but this section here will be quite dark, and this is also going to be quite light, so just a little bit here. This will be in shadow. Okay, so then we move into PC 920. And we just want to lighten this up. Now, not every one of my crystals is going to have the pink in this section. Because this crystal here is quite against my background, it makes sense to have some pink in it. So there'll be a little bit of PC 929 in here, but not so much everywhere else. So back to PC 920. Okay, and then I'm going to go PC 906. And then PC 907. I'm just building up my deeper shadowed areas here. The bottom half is going to be quite shadowed, and the top half will be much lighter. All right, then I come in with my white PC 938, and I'm going to start blending this out a little bit. All right, so now I want to bring in some blemishes. So I'm using my 90% cool gray. And again, a bit more of my pink. My white. I want a bit more of my Aquamarine PC 905, just along here. Alright, so now I'm going to take my white pen, and on the top half I'm going to bring down some of those dots. Whichever one of my pens will actually work for me. You can put some white lines as well. Okay, so PC 906. PC 920. PC 905. Okay, then our white pencil. So again, I'm remembering that my light source is coming from the right hand side and it's hitting this face here. It will glisten off here, but I'm also taking note of where I've got dark touching on dark, because what I've noticed is that wherever there is dark color, there should be a light color on top of it, and that helps with the 3D effect and also just creating that more realism to it, so it actually looks right. And when I say realism, I'm not always meaning that it has to look realistic. I'm meaning more believable. So this is that piece, that 90% French grey, and then I'm just going to go over that with my darker blue just to soften it, but I'm also using it to create some dimension. Then I go back to PC 905 and I'm playing with my colors here just to help me create a strong contrast between all my colors so that I get those different facets of the crystal going. PC 920. All right, so now I've got my white, and again I'm just using it to blend it out, and this is where I do like a white pencil because I want that milky effect on my crystal, so I've got that distinguishing happening. And then my white gel pen. Alright, I can also use that 90% cool grey to add imperfections. Like that. So that is how I approach crystals. I hope that this video has been helpful and informative to you. Always with crystals, be thinking of what is around your crystals, what colors will be bouncing off them, because they are multifaceted. So if you think of a diamond, you can have a diamond in a light, but it will be picking up the different colors within the within its surroundings. So think of those, think of where are your crystals touching, what is behind them. If there's a background color like mine did, then you want to try and bring in a bit of that background color. It also helps you tie in the colors together to create a more cohesive page. Because I've got green leaves coming through eventually, that's why I brought in the green. Teal and aquamarine also lend themselves towards a bit of a green tinge to it, And then I'm making my unicorn's hair blue, so I wanted to bring in those blues. So I'm tying together my color palette, but I'm also thinking about where is my light source, how am I reflecting the different colors, and also I'm making sure I've got a few blemishes in my crystals, and I'm also adding white highlights, and you can even add as many white dots as you want just to create a bit more of that sparkle effect. And you can do this as much as you like and just play with it until you get the look that you want. And it just really helps, goes a long way to those crystals looking believable. So there you have it. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that this has been informative and helpful to you. If you have liked this video, please be sure to give me a thumbs up, comment below, and let me know how you found it, or if there are any other tutorials you would like to see on the channel. Until next time, take care.